Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and happy Shazam Day, everybody. That's right, Shazam has a bunch of its advanced screenings today. Super stoked for it. This, of course, is Open Mic. What is Open Mic? Well, see, every day on the John Campea Show, we save a little bit of time for some live questions. But here on Open Mic on the weekends, that's all it is. Just all open live questions. And again, it's Shazam Day. I have been counting down the days to this day. Super stoked. Gonna go over to my AMC Burbank 16 Theater this afternoon. Go check it out. I bought not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 tickets. Why 6? I don't know. It's just the tickets went on sale and I just bought 6 of them. So me and a whole bunch of friends are going to go over and watch it this afternoon. I'm going to put up my Shazam review a little bit later. And I am super stoked for today. It's going to be a great day. Okay, guys, let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into it and get to your live questions because you guys have been firing in the live questions already anyway. And by the way, guys, thank you to everybody who sends in live questions, because not only because you give us great content and fun things to talk about, but because you support the channel as you're doing it. So I thank you for that in advance. All right, let's get to it right now. And we're going to start things off with, where are we at here? Sidious Swift, who is a little bit out of frame. There we go. Sidious Swift writes, Part 1, Kiss Kiss Gangbang. Part 2, Everyone Has a Hot Cousin. I've got to get that shirt made, by the way. I think I made a decision today that I will put on the John Campea merchandising page. I will get Ray to design a Everyone's Got a Hot Cousin shirt. I think that's got to go on there, obviously, right? That's got to be on there. It's got to be on there. All right. Ahmed Ismail writes, going to Shazam tonight, beyond excited for this. Dude, so am I. I cannot wait. My only regret right now is that we're going to have to wait 2 weeks to watch it again. Right now, I should just be focused on being excited about seeing Shazam today, but I'm a little bit kind of focused on the negative, which is we got to wait 2 more weeks to watch it again, but I can't wait. I hope you have a good time, Ahmad. I hope it doesn't disappoint, because I think I'm letting my expectations get a little bit out of hand because I'm very excited for it. Okay. KW Garrett 83 writes, Captain Marvel has made less than Avatar. Hashtag fail. Yeah. It's getting to that point that the trolls and people who are trying to get Captain Marvel to fail, they're going to have to start grasping at straws as to, in what way can we possibly paint this picture to make it look like Captain Marvel is anything but a resounding success? I mean, it's now past Wonder Woman, which is a huge hit, and it's now past Wonder Woman. So they're going to have to start, I wouldn't doubt it, KW, if that starts becoming the rhetoric. Ryan Lohner writes, the biggest compliment I can give the latter Fast and the Furious movies. They're good enough to almost get past the inherent discomfort of, look at the fun-loving speedster Paul Walker. Man, I still remember exactly where I was. I was actually at a poker table in Las Vegas. And I was sitting at this poker table, really good, fun group. I get a lot of fun. So every once in a while when I go to Vegas, I'll end up on a table with just a really cool, fun group of people. And this one particular group of people, there are like 3 or 4 Canadians at it that were visiting Vegas from around different parts of Canada, including somebody from Hamilton. And then people, somebody was from Germany there, and then somebody was from, I think it was like an Argentinian dude was there, a couple people from different states. And it was a good, fun group. And I still remember, I was out of a hand. And never have your phone out when you're in a hand, ladies and gentlemen. But I was out of the hand. So I, pulled out my phone and just looked at a couple things. And that's when I saw the news that Paul Walker had died. And it was so weird to see it because, you remember, it was died in a car accident, right? You read Paul Walker has died in a car accident while they're filming Fast and the Furious. My first thought, oh, this is a bad joke. This has got to be a bad joke. But sure enough, I started looking around a little bit more. It's like, oh my God, it's real. This actually happened. This is true. Paul Walker died. And I'll just never forget that. And then, look, full marks and credit forever and always to the filmmakers, to the studio, Universal, about how they navigated what was an unimaginable situation with, we were halfway through filming this movie. What do we do? The first thing they did was they put all production on hold and they waited. And then they figured out they were in heavy consultation with the family. And they figured out a great way to proceed. And then they ended it, oh my God, with that see you again send off. With, Paul Walker and Vin Diesel driving side by side. And then the roads split and they go in different directions. It was so perfectly handled. I mean, Universal really did put on a clinic with that situation of this, if you're a studio, because look, the old saying goes, the show must go on. I mean, it sounds a little bit heartless, but it's true. The show must go on. And so following the death of Paul Walker, they just put on a clinic of how to approach a tragic situation with sensitivity, with respect, without sacrificing efficiency and still putting out a good film. And they did all of it, and they did it all right. And it was really quite a sight to see, but I will never forget that, Ryan. And it's true. Even today, you watch those old movies, it's hard not to get distracted by what happened to Paul Walker. It's a tricky one to do. Okay, Grandmaster writes, I didn't realize Brad Pitt is almost 56 years old. Playing the stunt double of a 43-year-old Leo is kind of funny. What do you think? No, I mean, that's not that, 12, 13 years isn't that big of an age difference unless you're talking about a 25-year-old stunt doubling for a 12-year-old. That would be weird, but this wouldn't be. And it's still funny because we were in a theater. I think we saw the trailer play in front of us. Well, we saw the trailer online first for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but we went to see Us, and they played a trailer for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in front of it, including my own wife. Every time Brad Pitt came on screen, you could just hear the women in the audience, oh my God, like including my own wife, right? And you can't argue with that. Like, the dude has kind of been the definition of what a handsome Hollywood star is for decades, and it's stupid how good looking that dude is. It's just stupid. Anyway, Grandmaster follows it up with, over under 2%, Avatar 2 makes over $3 billion. Ooh, you said a good line there. 2%'s a good line. Wow. It's hard to take the under on almost anything when you set the line at 2%. I really want to take the under, but 2% is so low, and the last Avatar film got within at least view of $3 billion and hit over $2.7 billion. So as much as I want to say under, Grandmaster, that's a good low number. I'm going to take over. I mean, I do not think Avatar 2 is going to hit $3 billion. I don't even think it's going to hit $2 billion, but at 2%, I got to take the over on that. I'll take the over. Tacky75 writes, when will we learn Endgame's running time? My guess is when they put the tickets on sale, because when the tickets go on sale, the runtime is listed. And I believe that's when we're going to find out the official runtime. So I'm going to guess April 2nd. If all the rumors were correct and April 2nd is when the tickets are going on sale, I'm going to guess April 2nd is when we're going to find out the actual runtime. And I'm guessing it's going to be under 3 hours. Not by a lot, but I'm guessing it's going to be under 3 hours. We'll have to wait and see. Bob's Najjar writes, when you talked about firing yesterday, was the person everyone you wanted to fire Todd Packer? The names, I know that's from a joke or something, but I cannot remember. I can't remember what that means. Sorry, Bobs. Taki75 writes, next indie film will be a remake of Bubba Hotep. Dude, look, Bubba Hotep. I know I pause every time the movie gets brought up, but seriously, guys, if you have not seen Bubba Hotep, you are missing what might be, and I know this sounds sacrilegious to say, but you are missing out on what might be the best Bruce Campbell movie ever. Bubba Hotep is fantastic. You just got to embrace the ridiculousness of it, and it's crazy. Paul Giamatti makes an appearance in there. It's so good. An old Elvis living in a retirement community where a mummy has started feeding on the residents of the retirement community, and only Elvis can stop them. It writes itself, folks. It writes itself. Check it out when you get a chance. All right, Zach Bartron, who sends in a very generous super chat. Thank you so much, Zach, for supporting the channel that much. I really appreciate that, dude. Anyway, Zach writes, I've seen discussions on how Jordan Peele should remake this or remake that. I've seen those discussions too. And my thought is, if he's doing original stuff to critical and box office success, why do people want him to remake a bunch of stuff and not encourage more original ideas? Well, I got two minds on that, Zach. I've got two minds on that. On one side of the brain, you're seeing what Jordan Peele's able to do with this type of content, right? And there are a few properties out there that I think a lot of people would like to see remade, and then they see the type of approach that Jordan Peele takes, and they think, oh my God, he would be a great guy to do the one to bring that one back to life. So, and that makes total sense. I get that. I totally understand that. It makes sense. You know, you don't want beloved properties just in anybody's hands to try to resurrect and bring back for a reboot. And when you find a guy whose films kind of match the DNA of what you think they could bring to this property that needs reviving, yeah, I get that. I do. On the other side of my brain, though, which I kind of lean towards, to be honest, I'm kind of with you on that. It's like, look, Jordan Peele right now, he's put out 2 winner films in a row. I don't think Us is as good as Get Out, to be honest with you. I quite enjoyed Us. I just didn't think it was great. I thought it was quite good. And I enjoyed it. I thought the ending, I don't think he stuck the landing in the film. I thought it was a weak ending, to be honest with you. But that didn't take away from me the fact that the vast majority of that movie was really entertaining and very different. That cool kind of different DNA to it, like Get Out had. I just think Get Out was a significantly better film than Us. But whatever, they're both winners. They're both winners. I look at a guy like Jordan Peele, who now has just directed 2 films. I understand the idea of getting him to reboot some other properties, but how about later? The dude's on a roll right now. Directing his first 2 films, they're both winners, they're both entertaining. I say just leave him alone with the original stuff for now. Let him roll for 4 or 5 more years on just original stuff. Then maybe start petitioning him to try taking a crack at some property that maybe other people haven't been able to crack properly before, right? Give him a breath. Give him a beat. Let him do this stuff and then do that. So, yeah, overall here, Zach, I get it. Want this guy to do a reboot. I understand it. I see the rationale, and I agree with the rationale. But overall, for now, he's knocking it out of the park, writing and directing his own original stuff. Let him keep doing that. And by the way, don't just pigeonhole him to horror either. Let him go back to his comedy roots. Let him try something more dramatic. Let him do whatever, but just let him stay original for a while. So when it comes to all that, Zach, I fall with you on that side of the spectrum for sure. And then maybe in about 5 years, let's talk about him trying to revive a beloved property that nobody else can seem to crack. Then we can do that. But for now, let's keep it original. All right. Thanks again for that, Zach. All right, Mike Hill writes, do you think we will ever get a Mortal Kombat reboot? The original is a guilty pleasure of mine, but it's due a reboot now, surely. If it was due a reboot, it would have been done. The problem with Mortal Kombat is no studio really believes it can make money at the box office, because that's all studios care about is making money. And if they think something can make money, they're going to make it. Regardless of how good or a bad idea it is, if they think it's going to make money, they will make it. And I can get where they're coming from. But at some point, it will get done. Somebody is going, because look, recognizable IPs have value. And at some point, some studio with a big budget or small budget is going to look at Mortal Kombat, make a move to get the rights, and put out a film. It's going to happen at some point. The question is when. Anytime soon? Nope. Not anytime soon, like not in the next year or 2. Although it'd be pretty cool if it did. I remember they were trying to get one going for a while. Michael Jai White was attached to some stuff. They tried some web series stuff to get the momentum of it going. They tried for a while, so it'll happen. I just don't know when it's going to happen, though. That's the thing. So we might have to be waiting for a while. Brett Brooks writes, Tony Stark the Gray. Somebody do a fan post. I would love to see Boss Logic do that. Get Boss Logic to do that. Tony Stark the Gray. I would love to see that. I think that would be fun. Okay, Grandmaster writes, remember Toni Collette being ignored by the Academy? Toni Collette wasn't ignored by believe me, she got lots of consideration for a nomination. She should have got it, but she didn't. There you go. But believe me, she was not ignored by the Academy. They paid lots of attention to Toni Collette. They just didn't end up giving the nomination, even though they should have. But anyway, remember Toni Collette being ignored by the Academy? I have that bad feeling that Lupita Nyong'o will suffer the same fate with Us next year. Well, here's the thing, though. I have a hard time imagining Lupita Nyong'o not getting a Best Actress nomination. She burned the house down. I mean, she's so good in this movie. But it's March, guys. It's March. We got a lot of movies to come. And who's to say, like, look, we might get to the end of this year and you and I both might be going, yeah, Lupita's not in the top 5. There could be 5 better performances this year. Right? So let's not jump the gun about talking about what would be a snub at the Oscars next year when we haven't even seen really 95% of what the Oscar contending performances are going to be. All I'll say right now is it's hard to imagine there being 5 better performances this year. But there could be. So let's not jump the gun on that just yet. Let's not jump the gun. But I will say this. If there are 5 better actress performances this year, this will be one hell of a year for the lead actress category. It will be one hell of a year for that if there are 5 performances that are better than what Lupita Nyong'o just did in Us. So I'll just leave it at that. ZMG Ruler writes, box office prediction for Shazam, going to say 650 to 750 million. I don't think that's unreasonable. It's going to struggle to get to those numbers if it does only open to 45. Because right now the tracking says 45. I think that's low. I think it's going to do better than that. But all I'm saying right now is that if it does open to, like, say, 45, getting to 650 or 750 is going to be a bit of a challenge. But here's the beautiful thing about Shazam. I believe the production budget on this movie is like $5 million or $50 million. $90 million. I think it's around there. At $90 million, this film makes $500 million. It is a huge win for Warner Brothers. If it gets to $500 million, that is a huge win. That's very profitable. And that is the most important thing. Be profitable so you can make more. And this is a movie that is absolutely going to be profitable. How high? I don't know. Let's see how the first weekend shakes out. Okay. Ty Burton writes, I've seen people in the industry get angry at fans online for being happy about the Fox merger because of what it means for the MCU. Yes, the loss of jobs is sad, but wasn't Fox looking to sell regardless? Yeah, but Ty, you got to look at it from their point of view. This is an industry where, being in the entertainment industry is a tough slog, man. It's a tough slog. And a lot of people in this industry work paycheck to paycheck and gig to gig. There's not a lot, at least not a whole ton, of regular ongoing jobs. They're just steady jobs in this industry. And when like 4,000 of them get cut and slashed, yeah, look, it doesn't mean we can't be happy about the future and what things look like and looking forward to what Disney Plus may be. But yeah, we can. But at the same time, we got to understand that some people are going to be more sensitive to that than others, right? It's not an either or. We can be happy, but we should also be sensitive and understand when somebody gets upset at all the joy surrounding this. To them, it can look pretty harsh, right? To people who actually work in this and this is their living, and 4,000 jobs just got lost. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's harsh reality, man. It really is. So I would say, why get upset with somebody else being upset? If somebody else gets upset at the fact that 4,000 jobs are lost, why smack on them for that? I get it. I get why they'd be upset over the loss of those jobs and why they may take a little bit of offense to everybody else being so happy when either they or lots of people they know just lost their gigs. So it's not an either or. We can be happy as fans about what may be coming. And if we come across people who are really negatively affected by it and raise some objections to our joy, don't say anything. Just understand that it must be tough where it's coming from them. Doesn't need to stop you from being happy as a fan for what's coming, but at the same time, be a little understanding. Of course they're upset. Of course they're taking a little bit of offense to this. Of course they are. If I was in their position, I might be too. If you were in their position, you might be too. So be happy about what we're getting as fans, but cut those people who are getting upset and mad at that stuff. Cut them a little bit of slack. Cut them a little bit of slack, because this is a rough period, man. It's a rough period. So let's just keep a holistic kind of view on that. You know what I'm saying? And whether they were going to sell regardless or not doesn't change anything. That doesn't change anything. They were going to sell regardless. Okay, but that doesn't change the fact that 4,000 jobs just got lost. And let me use a really extreme example of hyperbole here, okay? I admit this is extreme hyperbole, but understand what I'm saying. It's like somebody's aunt just died in a car accident. Well, your aunt wasn't an immortal from Highlander. She was eventually going to die anyway. That doesn't change the fact that somebody just lost their aunt. Yeah, you could say that, well, I mean, one way or the other, Fox was going to sell and those jobs would have been lost anyway. Okay, but that doesn't change the fact that 4,000 jobs are just lost. So let's be a little bit sensitive to that. Let's be a little bit understanding of that and not give them grief for being upset about it. You know what I'm saying? That's my only way of coming across. It's a tough situation for some people, dude. It's a tough situation for some people. All right. Zach Bartran writes, tried watching The Dirt last night, but turned it off. Not even 5 minutes. I didn't even know it was now officially on air. Is it on Netflix now? The Dirt is, of course, the Motley Crue biopic. I just didn't think the trailer looked any good. I was as curious about a Monty Python, about a Motley Crue biopic as anybody. But then I saw that trailer. I thought, this looks really poor. I didn't like the trailer at all. So I didn't even bother. I wasn't even tracking when it was coming out, but I haven't heard any reviews. Literally, Zach, that is the first review I've heard of The Dirt. That somebody turned it off after 5 minutes. You might want to give it another chance. I mean, maybe it gets better after the first 5 minutes, but who knows? First review I've heard of it, though, Zach. Apex Caliber writes, can and was Thanos able to be simultaneously in the soul world and real world at the same time? I believe the Soul Stone makes someone immortal. Ooh, I know. Here's what I think, Apex. I think a lot of people have built a lot of theories and a lot of constructs, narrative constructs around the notion of one quick scene in Infinity War, and people have built this entire kind of philosophy around it, right? Grizz just heard somebody outside knocking on somebody else's door, so he's barking loudly now. Anyway, Grizzly! Anyway, I don't know. I think that's taking big leaps. If you're in the Soul Stone, well, was he in the Soul Stone or just having a vision of the Soul Stone? And when I listened to the Russo brothers on their Infinity War DVD commentary, director's commentary, they refer to it more as a vision of something than anything else. I don't know that there's Soul World, and these are things that the fans have all kind of made up. So I don't know. I mean, anything's possible. We'll see where they go, but I think that might be reading too much into it. That's just the way I'm approaching it. But the Russo has surprised us before. Let's see how this all turns out. Okay, Magic K writes, this is the day. Shazam, indeed. The day, my friends, is today. It is Shazam Day. We're going to be going, a bunch of us, you, me, a whole bunch of people around the world going to go see Shazam today. Very stoked. Tristan Larison writes, that Elastigirl motorbike sequence is incredible. I loved it. First of all, Incredibles 2 is a fantastic movie. I couldn't believe how much I love that movie. How do I compare it to the original one? I'm still not sure. But the very fact that I'm struggling with how do I compare it to the first one is a testimony to how great I think this movie is. It's fantastic. And that Elastigirl bike sequence was great. It was really fun. The way they utilized both the mechanics and dynamics of a motorcycle with her particular powers, with the stretching, it was very creative, very imaginative. I had a great time with it. Okay. Suthius85 writes, hey, Mr. Campea, I was going through Google Play to buy a couple of movies, and I found myself going down a rabbit hole. This has happened to me, and bought around 20 movies in 30 minutes. I hope my wife hasn't checked my bank account yet. Yeah, because it's great, and I've been in the same thing. I don't think I have ever bought 20 movies in one sitting, but it's true. You start going through Google Play, or whatever digital store you use. Maybe it's Amazon Prime, maybe it's iTunes, whatever. But you start going through it, and then you're like, it brings up a bunch of recommendations. You're like, oh, that's available? And you click, and oh, that one's only $6. Click, and like, oh, I haven't seen that in forever. I could rent it for $4, or I can buy it for $9. Click, and then before you know it, I've bought like 7 movies in a sitting. And it makes it real damn easy to do it because you're just sitting there on the menu system and then click, 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 and that happens. So I feel you, Suthius. I feel you, brother. I've been there. And listen, let's not pretend that's the last time it's going to happen to you. And let's not pretend that's the last time it's going to happen to me. But it's a really, it's hard to get out of that rabbit hole once you start going down it. Okay, Apex Caliber writes, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt as Reed and Sue Richards. Well, I mean, that's everybody's been asking that. I've specifically been asked that about 15 times in the last couple of weeks. What do you think about Emily Blunt and John Krasinski? I mean, look, ultimately, I don't care. Just get a talented actor and a talented actress, fine. So if they were to announce tomorrow that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt would be in it, I'd go great, because he's a great actor, she's a great actress. Perfect. That's great. I'm all for it. There's also about 20 or 30 other actors and actresses they could list that I'd go, yeah, I'm for that. Yeah, so what I will say about Krasinski and Blunt is like, yeah, I'd be for it. But that is a very, very popular thing amongst the fans right now. I'm hearing that all over the place. People are asking for John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. Which, there's a novelty to that. I don't know. We'll see. But all I know is that they did announce it tomorrow. I'd be perfectly good with it. Apex Caliber follows up. Magneto's grandparents are killed in the Holocaust, while his parents are Holocaust survivors. Could this work in the MCU so he could hate humanity? No, not at all. There's a difference between... Here's why I don't think that works in the least. There is a difference between hearing about atrocities and firsthand experiencing the atrocities. The reason we get so emotionally tied up in the Magneto character in the first X-Men isn't because he heard some story about what happened in the concentration camps. He was there. He saw it with his own eyes, burned into his soul, and experienced the cruelty of humanity. He experienced it, and that is on a level that you cannot communicate through the idea of a story being told. It's just not the same thing. Where, like, there's a scene in the not-so-great X-Men 3. But there's a wonderful scene in that movie where Magneto and Pyro go and meet with the other mutants in the other ground. And, the one mutant's like, hey, all of us wear the mark. Why don't you wear the mark? And the tattoo they get. And there's this great moment in a not-so-great film where Ian McKellen, Magneto, goes, oh, I've been marked. And he shows his concentration camp tattoo that the Nazis put on him. And he says, I can't remember the exact line, but something along the lines of, I assure you no one will ever mark my skin again. And because you know who he is and what he came from and the power that he has, but the tragedy of his past, because of all that there, it brings such dramatic weight to that scene and to that line. But it all comes from the fact that he was there. He saw it. He experienced it. He witnessed it. So the notion of just hearing the story passed down, to me, it loses all that weight. It loses all that weight. Now, again, I don't know what the answer is. But I think whatever it is has got to involve that he himself witnessed it and experienced it. The horrors and the worst part of humanity, he saw it and experienced it. Whether that is from, conflicts in Eastern Europe, whether that's from conflicts in Rwanda, whether that's from conflicts and horrible things that happened during the civil rights movements, whether it happened wherever and whatever, but he's got to have been there and seen it and experienced it himself. I think that is key. I think that's key. All right. Magic K writes, Supernatural, I know I heard about this. Supernatural's ending with season 15. I was like, we're not even in April yet. This can't be true. I know. I mean, I was very saddened to read that news. And I saw the post that the guys put up announcing that not this season, but next season will be their final season. Man, it's hard for me, 15 seasons, it's hard for me to imagine a world without supernatural. It's just, it's been a part of my viewing life for 15 years. The thought that I'm not going to each week sit down at some point and watch a new Supernatural episode is crazy to me. I really thought this show could have gone on another 10 years. Now, look, I would get it, especially if it's the lead stars. Like, you've been doing the same job for 15 years. It's time to go. I mean, I would kind of get it. They're probably set for life at this point. Not just from the salaries they got, but you've got a show that's run 15 seasons. You're going to get residuals for a very, very long time in syndication and streaming and all that kind of stuff. So they're pretty much set for life, these guys. They've done this job for 15 years. What show lasts this long? What live action show lasts this long? It's very, very, very few. And I was heartbroken to hear that this is going to end, but hey, all good things, right? All good things. The Avatar Yoshi writes, can the Shockmaster from... Oh, I remember that. The Shockmaster from WCW beat Thanos. No. If you guys don't know what the Shockmaster is, if I'm thinking of the right thing, it is one of the most infamously bad things that ever happened in professional wrestling. And it's this thing where I believe it was Ric Flair. This is going back decades ago. You know, he calls out this new guy, the Shockmaster, right? It's this huge dude with this glittery silver stormtrooper helmet on. And they arranged for his entrance to be through, like, breaking through this wall. Like, boom, he's here, right? But in his very first introduction, they call him out, and he breaks through the wall and trips and falls, and his stormtrooper helmet falls off because it's supposed to be hiding his identity. He's just scurrying around trying to find the helmet and then put it back on, and then pathetically try to stand back up and look all menacing again, and then keep walking down to the ring. I could totally be thinking of the wrong thing, but it's one of the most hilarious things, and I think he might have a hard time beating Thanos. I think that guy would have a hard time beating Thanos. Okay. Apex Caliber writes, what if mutants at age 25... what if mutants at 25 age slowing the MCU? Oh, that's a horrible idea. Horrible. There have been a bunch of people bringing up, what if Magneto has an extra mutant power that he just ages slowly? Because we're faced with this problem of Magneto. You can't do his concentration camp origins anymore. It would be too old now to start a new one for that. So you got to come up with a new origin story for him. But then some people are like, well, why don't you just say Magneto ages slowly? So you're going to introduce an entirely... you're going to make up some mutant power that has never been a part of Magneto's power structure and say, oh, that's also a power. No, his power is magnetism. That's the only power he has. He doesn't have multiple different mutant powers. He has one power, magnetism. And then he expresses that power in many, many different ways. But I don't think the thing is that. So to just confound and make the problem even worse by saying all mutants start aging slowly. No, I'm not for that. I'm not for introducing entirely new power sets just to try to solve a narrative problem that you should be fixing another way. So anyway, that's just how I feel about that. And then Apex writes again, Thanos Avengers team up against common enemy for Endgame. Nah. Again, Thanos is a genocidal maniac. He's a genocidal maniac. Now, I had some people, I mentioned that on my show before. Thanos is a homicidal, genocidal maniac who has murdered not tens, not hundreds, not thousands, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, not millions, not hundreds of millions, not billions, but trillions of people. And even before the snap, he was a genocidal maniac, going from planet to planet, killing millions and billions of innocent people. Somebody tried to write to me and say, John, Infinity War showed that Thanos wasn't just a genocidal maniac. He thought he was doing the right thing. Newsflash. Every genocidal maniac thought they were the good guy. That's the thing about dictators and genocidal maniacs and stuff like that. They think they're the hero. They all think they're doing the right thing. So no, Thanos is the worst of the worst. The fact that he saw as what he was doing as being noble just makes it even worse. There's no redemption arc for this character. You know? Like people screaming that there should be no redemption for Kylo Ren because he killed one guy. Thanos has killed trillions, so no, I don't see that happening. That would be a real spit in the face of a lot of people. I think they did that. Ryan Lohner writes, watch the Dumbo trailer. Keep in mind his name is Jumbo Jr. and Dumbo is actually an insult. Suddenly those kids seem like huge jerks. Well, it's going to be interesting though, Ryan, to see what they're going to do how do they handle all that in the movie? How do they handle all that in the movie? And I'll tell you what, I am still kind of clueless as to how this movie's going to do. Because I'm seeing half-decent tracking numbers for it. But I'm hearing nobody talking about this film. Honestly, I'm not hearing anybody talk about Dumbo. But it's got half-decent tracking. I'm very curious to see how this film's going to do. And I'm also very curious to see if it's any good. Because I like the trailers. But I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. So I'm curious to see it. I'm going to go see it opening day. I actually had an invite to go see it this Monday. But I turned it down. But I'm going to go see it when it comes out in theaters. Anne's really dying to see it. So is Corey. So I'll get and watch it. We'll see how it goes. But it'll be interesting to see how they handle that stuff. All right. Suthius85 writes, theory. The team goes back in time to pick up Fury and have him face to face with Thanos. Mother effer, you think your mother effing snap did anything? We ain't got no mother effing time for this. I'll tell you what. It would be an atrocity if they did that. But damn, wouldn't we laugh for about a good 5 minutes, though? Like, if that happened, and I know you're joking around, but think about this for a second. If that happened, it would probably go down as the stupidest thing that the Marvel MCU has ever done. But for those 2 or 3 minutes, we would all be laughing ourselves sick. If they had a moment where Nick Fury showed up face to face with Thanos and started going off on his mother effort, like the whole spiel like that, we would laugh ourselves sick for a couple of minutes. And then in hindsight, go back, yeah, but that was really a very bad thing for them to do. That was stupid. That made no sense. It was ridiculous. And be seen as one of the dumbest things they've ever done. But for those 2 minutes, we would be laughing ourselves sick. It would be hilarious. Okay. O+98 writes, hey, John, I hope you're having a good weekend so far. I am having a good weekend so far, as a matter of fact. Thank you so much. Do you think Snyder will ever direct a DC movie again, or is his name too polarizing from previous works? No, you will never see him direct another DC film again. And it's not a matter about being polarizing with fans, because I think you're going to see fans will give other Zack Snyder movies a shot. I think you will see fans will go back to Zack Snyder movies again once he starts doing other stuff. I think you're going to see that. I think the bigger problem is his status with DC and Warner Brothers. And I don't know, because remember, there's a lot of execs at DC that wanted him dropped as soon as Batman vs. Superman was done. And the only reason they brought him back initially for Justice League was because they didn't think they could find somebody else in time to do it. That's not the strongest and most solid ground to be standing on. He will be directing films and he'll make some great films. Do I think we're going to see him do DC again? Honestly, no. But hey, redemption stories are great. Maybe it'll happen, but right now I would guess no. ZMG Ruler writes, over under 20%, Peter finally tells Eric he is his son in X-Men Days of Future Past. I'm going to take under, and here's why. I have a feeling that's going to be something that Eric finds out in between movies. Because remember, I think they're saying like 10 years is in between the events of Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. I can't remember exactly how many, but there's a bunch of years in between. I'm going to go on a limb, and my assumption going into this movie is that Eric finds that out sometime in that time period. So on that basis, I'm going to take under 20%. Damian Davies writes, saw Romeo and Juliet at the Garrick. Oh, that's the stage thing that Kenneth Branagh was doing. At the Garrick Theater from May 2016, starring Lily James. Lily James, Richard Madden, directed by Kenneth Branagh in the cinema. It was magical. Something about the nuances of actors' life. Dude, I was so mad because I found out about that. Because if you guys have watched me for any period of time, you know I'm a big Kenneth Branagh fan. I found out about it after, like, past tense. It's like, oh, you remember that thing they did like 6 months ago? I'm like, what are you talking about? Thing with Lily James, Kenneth Branagh doing Romeo and Juliet. I'm like, wait, what? 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 And it was like 6 months earlier or something like that. That was one of those things that I missed. But man, that sounds like something that would be a lot of fun to watch. Because I love Kenneth Branagh. Everybody knows, like, Lily James is kind of like the celebrity crush I have right now. And she's fantastic. She's such a great performer. I love seeing her on screen. She's wonderful. That is something I would have loved to have seen. That's really cool that you had a chance to see that, man. That's really cool. I'm a little bit envious. I got to see if I can find that. Because I haven't even thought about that for a couple of years. I got to see if I can find that because I would love to watch it. I'm a little bit envious right now, Damien. All right. O+98 writes, and should Snyder be allowed to finish his Justice League? Oh, hell no. Should Snyder have been allowed to finish his Justice League, regardless of what people think about it? No. And Warner Brothers can reboot the whole DC EU after that? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Warner Brothers owes Zack Snyder nothing. And Zack Snyder owes them nothing. No. Who should he be allowed to finish it? I'll tell you what. If Zack Snyder wants to raise $80 million of his own money to get some people together and finish off his thing, sure. But why should Warner Brothers throw money away and just throw it into a gas fireplace? What's the point of that? No director is owed anything except a paycheck. A director is owed a paycheck, and that is it. So no, absolutely not. 100% no. 100% no. Damian Davies writes, does Superman 1978 collecting a special achievement award for special effects at the Oscars when there wasn't a category count as a win? Absolutely it does. Because to me, see, I've had these discussions before about like honorary Oscars that get given, lifetime achievement Oscars, things like that. It's like, do you really count that as an Oscar? I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Because you have to have amassed or done something so special and significant that the Oscars go above and beyond just the regular categories to bestow one upon you. To me, that says a lot. That says a lot. So if somebody's got like 2 Oscars for something and then a Lifetime Achievement or a Special Honors Oscar, I count that as having 3 Oscars. I completely do. And I mean, different people, Damien, will have different philosophies, I'm sure. But to me, that absolutely counts. 100% to me, that counts. If nothing else, it's even a little bit more special. Because it goes above and beyond the regular mechanisms of the awards, and I just count it. Snake Jerusalem writes, is Disney really keeping 21st Century Fox as a subsidiary? Apparently they are. I didn't think they were, but apparently they are. Won't they have to change the name since the original Fox still exists? Are they allowed to keep using their fanfare? Also, my biggest super chat yet. Look, whatever belongs to 20th Century Fox now belongs to Disney. If the fanfare is 20th Century Fox's fanfare, and you now own 20th Century Fox, then you now own the fanfare. It's just that simple. You know, Fox sold the company known as 20th Century Fox to Disney. Disney can keep that name. Now, what Fox does, what the original Fox does, or the new Fox does, I don't know. But yeah, it's like the name company can be in the name of your company. Lots of companies can have the word company in the name of their title, or whatever. So, I mean, I'm not really sure about all the ins and outs about how that specifically would work, but I do know this. Disney is now keeping 20th Century Fox together as a subsidiary. That fanfare belongs to 20th Century Fox, so they can use it. So absolutely they can, absolutely they do. How they have to work out the naming constructs to comply with trademarks and all that kind of stuff, well, they're going to have to figure that out between them and Fox, the original Fox at any rate. But they, as far as I know, they can still keep that name and they can keep that fanfare. Absolutely they can. All right. Royce Freeman writes, are films like Us and Get Out more acceptable from Peele than if from a filmmaker not black made them because would be deemed offensive? I don't think so. Are films like the more acceptable because of Peele? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, if you look at Us, I didn't see anything in the movie Us that had anything to do with the family being black. Now, in Get Out, the race issue is a very prominent issue in Get Out. So yeah, there's no getting around that. But quite honestly, in Us, I can't, now granted, I've only seen the movie once, but I can't think of a single part of that movie where the fact that the family was black had anything to do with anything. It was just a family who happened to be black. So with Get Out, could a white director have made Get Out? That's an interesting question. That's a fair question. Because it's dealing with a socio issue that, I don't know, maybe it's tough. It's an interesting question, Royce. But as far as us goes, anybody could have made that. Because, again, I don't think race really played any role in that movie whatsoever. None. I can't think of one simple reference in that movie that had anything to do with the fact that family was either black or Asian or white or whatever. So on that level, yeah, I don't even think you can make that one a part of the conversation. IDK a name writes, Captain Marvel has passed Wonder Woman at the world box office. Still don't think it'll hit $1 billion, but no one saw this coming. Shazam tonight also. Well, I wouldn't say that nobody saw it coming. I heard, look, I didn't think it's going to hit $1 billion. It may still, but I still don't think so. But there are a number of people, I know there were a lot of people telling me they thought it was going to hit $1 billion before the movie came out. There were a number of people that said it was going to completely flop. And then there were people who thought it was going to hit $1 billion. Obviously, I didn't agree with either of those two extremes, and I still think it's going to have a hard time hitting $1 billion. It's at 830 something million now, which is crazy successful, but it's slowed down. It's going into its third weekend. We got a big film like Us opening up. I just don't see it. I don't see it hitting $1 billion, but it may. It does have a chance. It has a legitimate chance hitting $1 billion. We'll have to see, but that's kind of irrelevant one way or the other. But yeah, there were also a lot of people that didn't think it would pass Wonder Woman, and it has. But there were people who thought it would too. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's like nobody thought that. It's not like Jumanji, where nobody thought Jumanji was going to hit $900 million. I mean, there might be some armchair quarterbacks who in hindsight go, oh no, I always thought it would. Liar. Anyway, nobody thought Jumanji was going to hit $900 million. And it did, but I don't think Captain Marvel's that situation. But yeah, it's pretty incredible this past Wonder Woman. Quite frankly, I wouldn't have guessed that it would catch Wonder Woman. I thought it would be possible for it to catch Wonder Woman, but if I had to put $5 on it before the movie opened, I wouldn't have thought it would have caught Wonder Woman. But it did. And yeah, it's a pretty big milestone for them. Okay, Mark and Dale Productions writes, from Colby, I am writing a Lord of the Rings / Star Wars story. I don't know what that means, Mark and Dale Productions, but thank you for sharing. Ryan Lohner writes, I'm seriously wondering if Tarantino went back in time and got Bruce Lee, completely nails it. Dude, I'm telling you what, when that dude who was playing Bruce Lee, he absolutely nailed it. It's like, oh my God, like you thought, it's like, wait a minute, is this actual footage of Bruce Lee talking from sometime in the past, and they're just digitally compositing it into this scene? Because this dude nails Bruce Lee. That was like one of the things that I had to stop and rewind a couple of times when I first saw the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood trailer. I had to stop and rewind it a couple of times and just watch him doing that Bruce Lee imitation because that dude crushed it. Arturo Beltran writes, did you hear that Supernatural's ending? Yep. First Arrow and Gotham, Modern Family, now Supernatural. Thanos is snapping too much. Keep up the good work. Well, I mean, look at it a couple things. Arrow is going to be going into its 8th season. Is that it? No one thought Arrow was going to last that long. That's a long run for a television series. Gotham, Gotham was hit and miss. I'm not losing any sleep over Gotham getting canceled. Modern Family's been around for a long time. It won tons of awards, all this kind of stuff. At some point, you got to pull the plug on, so it's fine. So, I mean, it's not like any of these shows are dying before their time. You know, it's not like Deadwood that had the plug pulled on them after what, season 3 or season 2? I can't even remember how early Deadwood got pulled, but this isn't a big story of, you know, all these shows that got pulled before their time. Man, Supernatural, one of the longest running live action shows in television history at 15 seasons. I mean, there's not a lot that have outdone it. Arrow went longer than I think anybody thought it would go. Modern Family has had a good long run. Gotham, what did it get? 5 or 6 seasons, which maybe 3 seasons too many, but whatever. Gotham to me wasn't a bad show. It was just a hit and miss show that pull the plug on it, whatever. But yeah, a lot of high profile shows going down, but I'm most kind of upset about the Supernatural one. But it's been 15 seasons when it's all said and done, so I can't really complain. Suthius85 writes, does J-Law not like her Mystique character makeup? She looked great in First Class, very similar to Romaine's look. Now it's just her with blue face, with a blue face, and it looks awful in my opinion. I don't get it. As a matter of fact, there is a big story there. Jennifer Lawrence hated apparently it was an hours and hours and hours long process of getting into the Mystique makeup in First Class. And she demanded that they change her makeup because she didn't want to go through that. She found the makeup uncomfortable and all that kind of stuff. To me, I always had a problem with that because to me, you're getting paid millions of dollars. Wrap your head around that. You're getting paid millions of dollars. You're going to get paid for this one movie, the type of money that would set you and probably your kids up, not in a rich lifestyle, but set you and your kids up comfortably for the rest of your life. Millions of dollars. For a movie that's probably going to shoot 12 weeks. Shut up and put on the damn makeup. If it's some dude complaining about the full body, if it was Oscar Isaac complaining about, oh man, everything I had to go through to put on the apocalypse, shut up, Isaac, and put on the makeup. There are guys who are digging ditches in city streets for 14 hours a day who will never make what you're going to make in 12 weeks to shoot this movie. Put on the costume. Put on the makeup. I get it. It's uncomfortable. It's not pleasant. Okay, I get that. You're getting paid millions of dollars. Just put it, because I agree with you. It looked really good in First Class. And it's looked pretty crappy ever since. But look, it's not the biggest. Let's not. I'm making it sound like it's a bigger deal than it is. To be honest, it's the costume, it's the look, it's the makeup, whatever. At the end of the day, how good or bad the makeup looks is not determined whether the movie is good or bad. So I don't want to overstate it. But yeah, it is a little something to me. It's like, yeah, I get it. It's a pain in the ass. You got to wake up at 5 or 4 in the morning. You got to sit in a makeup chair for 3 or 4 hours. It's a pain. It's uncomfortable. It's whatever. You're getting paid millions of dollars to do it. Come on. Anyway, this is kind of my thought. Amit Suresh writes, do you believe Feige will show off the Phase 4 films at Comic-Con this year, or will we still have to wait? If he does, it's not going to be at Comic-Con. I think it's going to be at D23. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think they won't do anything significant at Comic-Con. They may not. They've been weaning a little bit more away from Comic-Con in the past couple of years and because Disney's trying to do their own big thing, D23. And they do a pretty good job with D23, but at any rate. If they do a big announcement, it will probably be at D23 because they are doing D23 this year, and they'll probably lean at that over Comic-Con because that seems to have been their practice lately. Alex Burnett writes, out of the movies releasing in May, which one do you think will be the best quality-wise, and which one do you think will make the most money worldwide? Most money worldwide is probably going to be Aladdin. Now, I'm not saying Aladdin's going to be $1 billion film or anything like that, but that's probably going to be your biggest moneymaker, is probably Aladdin. Because John Wick has never been a huge blockbuster franchise, so it's not going to make $500 million or anything like that. You got Godzilla. That's going to make a bunch of coin, but I don't think as much as Aladdin. What else do we got here, man? A second. I'm just going to look through the Detective Pikachu is going to make bank. I think Detective Pikachu is going to make a lot of money. I think Detective Pikachu is going to make a lot of money, but I don't think as much as Aladdin. The Hustle isn't going to be huge. John Wick was never going to be a big, huge moneymaker. Book Smart's not going to be huge. I'll tell you what I think may be, Rocket Man could do okay, but it's not going to come close to Aladdin. I think the best movie of that month, and again, I don't know. I haven't seen these 3 films yet, so I'm just guessing. My guess right now is it comes down to 3 films. John Wick Chapter 3, Ma with Octavia Spencer, or Brightburn. Because I'm stupid sick excited for Brightburn. So I'm thinking one of those 3 may end up being the best film of the month. But we'll have to wait and see. But overall, which one do I think is going to make the most money? I'm going to guess Aladdin. Aladdin's going to be my guess on that. But we'll see. There's a couple of contenders. I think Pikachu's a contender. I think Godzilla's a contender. But I think ultimately it's going to be Aladdin. Okay. Stubborn McShave. Over under 10%, Stephen Amell will be the new Batman. I will go under 10% on that. It doesn't make any sense. That's just not the right choice. He's already been Green Arrow in the thing there. I think Stephen Amell has grown a lot as an actor, and I like him as an actor. Is he ready to be the lead of a major film franchise? I don't think so. I don't think he's there yet. I think he could get there, but I don't think he's quite there yet. Like, I think he's a much better actor than, say, Scott Adkins is. And I'm a big fan of Scott's. But I don't think Stephen Amell's quite there either. So I'm going to take, and the fact that he was Arrow, I think, is a strike against him right now. So I don't think so. What I do know is I cannot wait to see what Stephen Amell does next. Can't wait to see what he does next. Andrew White writes, Deadpool 3, Deadpool kills the X-Men universe. Will never happen, but would be nice to see one last moment with the Fox cast. Somebody else brought that up the other day. I answered that same question the other day about that. It would be a hoot. I would love seeing that. Now, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, there's this comic story run, kind of an Elseworlds story run, where it's called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, where literally Deadpool kills everybody. Kills everybody. And like one at a time goes through and kills all the Marvel characters. It's bonkers. And it would be kind of fun if they had pulled something like that off as they transition into a new MCU existence, right? It would be kind of fun. I agree with you, Andrew. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see it. I would love to see that. All right. Amit Suresh writes, rewatched the Hobbit trilogy recently. Underrated and lots of fun. Martin Freeman's great. You know what? I also think the Hobbit trilogy is a little underrated. Here's the thing. If you're going to compare the Hobbit trilogy to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, no comparison. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is infinitely better. Absolutely. So, and that understandably is what people were comparing the Hobbit to. And it's understandable. I get it. But the Hobbit films, I think, are good. They're not great. They're not outstanding, but I think they're good. The problem for me is especially the third film, the final film of the Hobbit franchise, because a good movie has setup, build up, action, payoff. Setup, build off, payoff. Setup, build up, payoff. That's a really good step for these types of movies. The problem was the third film in the Hobbit franchise was nothing but payoff. You know, we see this big epic battle between Thorin Oakenshield and the White Orc. But the thing is, we hadn't seen these two characters together on screen for a couple of years. They did all this setup and build-up in previous films, and then we come into this new film, and it's nothing but payoff. The whole thing is just one big battle action sequence. And there's no emotional, dramatic investment in it, because it's been years since we've seen these characters on screen together, right? So that's a problem. And they did some really great action, some great visuals in the third Hobbit film, but dramatically it lacked. And if you lack the dramatic element, action just becomes visual noise. So it was a series that had problems, but I agree. I think at the end of the day, I think they're still good films. I still enjoyed watching them, but they paled in comparison so much to the brilliance of The Lord of the Rings that it left a bad taste in some people's mouths. And I get it, but I'm with you, admit. I still enjoy them. All right. Gio writes, saw The Truman Show, great themes and performances. Oh, it was a movie that was ahead of its time. Truman Show was absolutely, Gio, a movie that was ahead of its time. And I think for a lot of people, even though there were some others who already noticed, I think for a lot of people, it was a coming out party for Jim Carrey. Kind of announcing to the world just how good Jim Carrey can be as an actor. And I think that woke a lot of people up. Sen Pygar writes, I don't think you have mentioned Cody Miller without dropping Olympic gold medalist in front or behind his name. Do you get $1 for each time? No, but the reason I keep saying, because there were a couple of times that I mentioned Cody or Cody Miller, and I would have some people saying, who's Cody Miller? Right, would ask me who's Cody Miller. So I thought, okay, all right, then I'll just make sure I mentioned. So Olympic gold medalist Cody Miller, and then everybody will remember who he is. So I do that. So you're right. Every time I'm announcing everything, like not during the podcast, like we're not like, I don't go, so Cody, what do you think? I don't say, so Olympic gold medalist Cody Miller, what do you think? Like I don't do that. But when I'm announcing and talking about the show, I found that if I don't mention his Olympic credentials, some people then get back to, wait, who? And maybe don't know who he is because they don't travel in, Olympic swimming circles, whatever. Cody is great, though. Cody's great. I love talking movies with Cody. Cody is a legit bona fide from birth to grave film fanatic. This is the guy who, when I put out on my Facebook, hey guys, I've got a spare +1 for Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. This was 2 weeks before the movie opened for a special event at the IMAX headquarters. And I had this +1 because I was going to bring Anne with me because Anne is a Harry Potter fanatic, but Anne was out of the country at the time. So I think I've got spare +1. Anybody want to come? Cody Miller, who lives in Indiana, he writes me and says, dude, do you still have that +1? So I text him back. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I will fly there tomorrow morning to come to this thing with you. Because this guy, he's a Harry Potter nut. I think him and his wife, Allie, they had like wedding photos done in Harry Potter garb. Like, it's crazy. And this dude is just hardcore film fanatic. That he would fly across the country to just turn around for one day and fly all the way back across the country again just to watch a movie. He's a hardcore nut. He loves talking movies. Me and Rob have a great time with him. So, and it just so happens that he's an Olympic gold medalist and multiple medalists, as a matter of fact. But yeah, there's that too. Anyway, Curtis Lopez writes, having a great day today, did my taxes, going to the Schmodown Free-For-All, and seeing Shazam at 7 p.m. I'm going to the 4 p.m. screening this afternoon, which, by the way, guys, so me and a bunch of my friends, this just brings us up, we're going to go see the 4 p.m., but we're going to go and meet first to grab a bite to eat. So today's open mic is not going to just run until we're done. I think I got to finish by like 2 o'clock. So we got about another hour to go. So just making sure you guys are aware of that now. I should have mentioned that off the top. Forgive me for that. But because we're going to get together, hang out for a bit, and then going in to see Shazam. So excited for this movie. Anyway, that is a good day, Curtis. Make sure you jump on and let me know what you thought of this movie once you have a chance to see it. And don't forget, guys, my Shazam review is coming a little bit later tonight. Keep your eyes open for that. And we will, of course, do a Shazam spoiler review after the movie opens. So once the movie's open, we will do a Shazam spoiler review. Or open spoiler discussion. Curtis writes, when's the next best movie, worst movie? We release those on Mondays or Tuesdays. So we were going to drop them on Tuesdays, but then the second episode, hold on a second, I got my buddy Soul Video. I'm just going to doing a live show for the next 60 minutes. Jump on YouTube and see me talking about you right now as I respond to you live and on air. Come by after 2 or at 2, whatever. Soul is one of the guys who's coming with me today. Okay. Anyway, so that's, yes. So me, Soul Video, Ryan, Ashley Whalen, and my buddy Ryan. I already mentioned Ryan. Ryan's the one. My buddy Ryan, I'll often put up pictures, like group pictures when we're out, and Ryan is a lifelong friend of Anne's. That's how I met Ryan because, okay, so there's a long story here. So Anne grew up with her brother, Ray. Ray is her big brother. And Ray had these 3 friends, Ryan, Tommy, and Kevin. And so Anne just kind of grew up with these 4 big brothers in many senses. And they're family. They're family. I don't see a lot of Kevin and Tommy moved and all this kind of stuff. So I don't see those guys nearly as much as I see Ryan, who's still around. But they're family. And so Ryan and Ray still live together and all that kind of stuff. And Ryan but anyway, I'll often put up group pictures, right? And a lot of people will ask me, is that Ben Affleck in your picture? Because when Ryan's got the beard going and the camera's a little bit further back, he looks like Ben Affleck in the beard. And probably some of you have been the ones to write that on some of the things there. But anyway, so yeah, it's going to be me, Soul, Anne, Ray, Ryan, and Ashley. We're going to go see that, and we're all very stoked for it. Okay, so I'll see you at around 2 o'clock, Soul. All right, but anyway, the podcast. We plan to air them on Tuesday, so we put the first one up on a Tuesday. But then last week, I just finished editing the podcast faster than I thought. So instead of waiting till Tuesday to launch it, I just launched it Monday night. So we are recording our next episode this Monday. And so the next episode will either go up Monday night or go up on Tuesday. So we'll just see how fast I edit it. The plan was for Tuesdays, but if I edit it really fast, I'll just put it up on Monday night. And this week's category, the first category in the first podcast was best and worst MCU movies. The second one was best worst 80s action films. This one is best and worst of the movies of 2012. So that's going to be a fun one too. So that's when the next one goes up. Thank you for asking, Curtis. All right. Patrick Manis writes, Supernatural season 15 is the end. # feels. I know, man. I'm at least grateful for this. I'm grateful that they didn't come out mid-season this year and say, this is the last season, right? I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful they didn't wait until in between seasons to say this next one. So now we still got the rest of this season and we have all of next season as well. So I'm at least grateful for that. James LH writes, hey, John, fun question as a Star Wars fan. The infamous Stormtrooper headbang, which is great. Did you see it yourself or like me years later, then think, how did I... No, I'm completely like you, James. I never noticed that. Never noticed that until it was pointed out to me. Once it was pointed out to me, now you can never unsee it, right? That which has been seen cannot be unseen. And now that's all I see. But no, I was completely like you. That had to be pointed out, which again, I mean, hey, look. Stormtroopers are guys running around a corner. Somebody might bump their head. Not a big out of continuity, not a big kayfabe thing there at all. Perfectly fine, but no, I'm like you, James. I never even noticed it at first, so it was pointed out. James follows up with, I know you're seeing Shazam. Looking forward to your opinion. My Cineworld are doing advanced showings this Wednesday. Can't wait, but going to have to. Well, yeah, but at least we're getting it early. At least we're getting it early, right? I cannot wait to see this movie. I'm so stoked. I've been excited about it. I was intrigued by it as soon as they announced it. But once they said Zachary Levi was playing Shazam, what it told me was what kind of movie this was going to be. Because if you're casting Zachary Levi, that probably means you're going to make the movie this way, a certain way, right? And once I realized they're going to make that kind of a movie with Shazam, I was on board. I was completely on board. Cannot wait to see this thing. Super stoked. Okay, I'm more excited for this one than I was for Captain Marvel. And I was excited for Captain Marvel, but I have said consistently, I've been more excited for this movie than I even was for Captain Marvel. Will it be as good? I don't know. Let's wait and see, but I'm super stoked to find out. All right. Last question I'm going to take right now, and then with your indulgence, guys, I'm going to take a 4 or 5 minute break just to give my voice a little bit of a rest. We've been going a little over an hour now. Give my voice a bit of a rest, refill my drink, and then I'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. Anyway, Quezada writes, am I in the minority when I say that I actually like The Amazing Spider-Man 2? It has flaws, but I believe the positives outweigh the negatives. No, you know what? I don't think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a bad film. It was a major step down from the first Amazing Spider-Man. And oh my God, what they did with Electro was unforgivable. But there are things in that movie that are actually quite good. You know me, I don't like romance in my comic book movies, but the dynamics between Peter and Gwen, I thought was great. I love the on-screen chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. I thought they were great together on screen, and I loved everything that they did in that movie. But then there's also a lot of crap. And it just really represented a major downgrade from the first one. But at the end of the day, I didn't think it was a bad movie. Just a major step down from the first one. So I think you're right. I think there's enough good stuff in the movie that counters a bunch of the really horrible stuff in that movie to the point that I don't think it's a car wreck. I don't think it's a car wreck of a film, even though there are certainly car wreck elements. Lone Wolf X6 writes, late to the party, but I finally started watching Supernatural for the first time, and I just finished the God Sister arc. Oh, the Amara stuff. Woo, you're almost like completely caught up. You're getting close. Just finished the God Sister arc last night. Season 15 is the end. Yeah, it is. I actually really quite liked. At first, I didn't know if I was going to buy into that. I didn't know if I liked the idea of the whole Amara thing, who was God's sister. And I ended up really quite enjoying it. I really like the way they ended that season as well. So, but just in case you haven't gotten to the end of it, wait a second. You did just finish. Okay, so I love the ending of it. And I love the ending of that season. Then they transitioned into the next, and I got a big kick out of it. So you're almost caught up, man. You don't have much further to go till you're all caught up. All right, I said that was the last one. I'll take 2 more quick ones, and then I'll take my little break. James L.H. writes, another one from me. When the Star Wars Episode 9 trailers are out, do you plan any discussions like you did with Endgame or maybe closer to release date? Oh, no, I'll probably be doing a full discussion video on it. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was funny. Some people pointed it out in the comments, and it's funny, but it's true. I think our Endgame trailer discussion went 3.5 hours, I think, maybe 4. I can't remember. It was long. And some people commenting, your discussion of the trailer is longer than the whole movie is going to be. And it's true. And I probably expect some of that when the first trailer Star Wars drops. So yes, when the Star Wars trailer drops, you know we're going to do a discussion about it. Good, bad, or ugly, we'll probably do a discussion about it. So looking forward to that one. Okay. We're going to end things here, just for a couple of minutes, we're going to end here things here with Jared McBride, who writes, it would be funny if Captain Marvel said Avengers Assemble in Avengers Endgame instead of Captain America. I don't think that would happen, but it would have been cool. Oh my God, can you imagine? Can you imagine the Captain Marvel haters if they actually had Captain Marvel say Avengers Assemble? It would piss them off to no end. Now look, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to appreciate that either. I like Captain Marvel, and I'm not going to appreciate if she does it. Now look, if they do, look, they're not going to have Captain Marvel say Avengers Assemble, but if they do it in such a way that narratively it makes sense and it works, then I'm okay with it. Would I prefer to hear Captain America say the line? Obviously. I've been waiting 8 films for Captain America to say, Avengers, assemble. I've been waiting a long time for that. I will feel a little bit robbed if they have anybody else say it, including Captain Marvel. But ultimately, I'll be fine. It'll be fine. If they do it right and it makes sense narratively. But all things being equal, you got to have Captain America say it. But I'm just imagining the volcanic-like eruption from the Captain Marvel haters who would just lose their minds if she said it. And I'll be disappointed too. But if they make it work and all that kind of stuff, then I'd be okay with it. But no, I want Captain America to say it, damn it. I want Captain America to say it. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to take like 3, 4, at the very most 5 minutes here. I'm going to go refill my drink, maybe use the bathroom quick, and I will be right back. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with a clip. You probably already saw it just because I totally forgot to put together a new clip. I'm sorry, guys. I just forgot about it. So you may have already heard this clip already, but here's just a clip from the podcast of Best Movie, Worst Movie with me, Robert Meyer Burnett, and Olympic gold medalist, Cody Miller. Hang in there, guys. I will be right back in just a couple of minutes. Talk to you in a second.
It kind of took me by surprise. I think it incorporated heart, it incorporated love, and there's just example after example of all those little intricate scenes with each character. And my biggest reason for loving it is because it's about a team. And it's about a team of people who are complete misfits, who have no business being together. And before the movie, you don't care about any of these characters. You don't know who they are. They don't matter. And at the end of the movie, you are in love with all of them. I don't know which one is my favorite. And that's the hardest part for me. It's like I can't pick a favorite character. That ending sequence where Groot essentially sacrifices himself and kind of protects all of the characters. I mean, there's just so much love in that scene. It like kind of brings a tear to my eye. It's just so, I think it's the best MCU movie strictly for that reason, because it doesn't have that superpower character that you just love and gravitate towards. It's just a culmination of all the things that the MCU does right, all the special things, all the character development, the little witty remarks, and mixed well with all the great action too. I mean, I believe it's the best.
Strong case. It's a strong case. You're right. That caught me totally off guard. I wasn't expecting that one. All right, Robert. Floor is yours, man. Take us home on this. What's the best MCU movie?
Well, I was thinking a lot about this, and my choice is a movie that I think transcends the MCU. I think that if you were to recast the film and it had characters and actors that weren't people that we knew, that it would still work and it would be a terrific film. And that movie is Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And I think what's interesting is if you look at the first Captain America film, as Cody pointed out, it's a period piece. It's very, as I would say, comic booky. You know, you get to see young scrawny Steve Rogers be turned into a super soldier form, and you've got the Red Skull, and you have the Howling Commandos, and it's World War II and all that. But when I started watching Winter Soldier, it starts out, it could have been a Bond film. You know, this ass-kicking espionage movie where they parachute out of Captain America doesn't use a parachute, but they
was
jump.
he wearing a parachute? No, he wasn't.
they jump out of a plane, they assault a boat. It could have been a Bond film opening,
Yeah.
and you watch Captain America and you watch Natasha Romanoff as the Black Widow. They're working together, but the overarching plot, Nick Fury. I mean, there's a chase sequence at the beginning with Nick Fury being chased. It's right out of Michael Mann's Heat or something. You know, it's right out of it didn't feel like you were constrained anymore by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You were watching something that elevated the Marvel Cinematic Universe to something that I thought transcended the superhero genre. And the whole overarching theme of the movie about the surveillance state and this clandestine, Hydra, this organization that was going to subvert the American way of life, that they were going to take out prominent Americans, people that dissented against the government, and it truly was it was the first time I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe said that, okay, we're going to now attack different genres within the MCU. And as Cody pointed out, Winter Soldier is a throwback to the great conspiracy thrillers of the 70s, like The Parallax View, like 3 Days of the Condor, All the President's Men. They even get Robert Redford to come and basically play the big bad in the movie.
Yeah.
And
all right, guys, and we are back. Thank you for indulging me, and let me take a couple of minutes there to top off my drink and rest the voice for a minute or two. So now, let's get back into it here. We're going to get things restarted here with Slow D, who writes, "Hey, John, I appreciate your balance and fair arguments, even though I may not agree with some of them. All the way from Jamaica, by the way. Well, thank you, and hope you're having a good one in Jamaica. Thanks for writing that. And you know what? The idea is not, as film fans, the idea isn't to agree. It's not the idea to agree. The idea is to have either the same opinions or different opinions and been able to share different points of view about it. That's the idea. I'm totally cool if you don't agree. I'm happy. If I don't have at least half the people disagreeing with me, then I'm not doing something right. Right? My job is not to say things that people agree with. My job is to express my opinion, which we all have different points of view, so different people will have different opinions. But my job is to express my opinion and express it in such a way that it helps you sharpen your view of why you agree with me, or help you sharpen your view as to why you disagree with me. It's not to have everybody agree, so it's great that we have different opinions, and hopefully that I just present my opinion in such a way that you find challenging and helps you more clearly define why you agree or disagree. That's all it is. So thanks for writing that in, man. I appreciate that, and I hope you're having a good day in Jamaica. I'd like to be there right now, as a matter of fact. Lone Wolf, except for the fact that I get to see Shazam today. Lone Wolf X6 writes, Castiel and Gabriel, favorite characters. Mine, other than the Winchester boys themselves, but mine have got to be Bobby and Crowley. I loved Crowley. He was my favorite character in that show. Again, the brothers notwithstanding, Crowley was my favorite character in that show, and I miss him deeply. I miss Mark Shepard on that show. Koa1708 writes, in Endgame trailer, there are two shots of the walk with the white quantum suits. Far away shot doesn't show Iron Man and Nebula, but the close-up one does. I think those are... I could be wrong about this. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I'm thinking you're talking about two different trailers. I think one trailer didn't show them in that wide shot, but the second trailer did. I don't think there was a wide shot without them in it and then a close-up shot with them in it in the same trailer. If it is, and maybe I'm just not remembering it right... If it is, that's pretty inconsistent for them. I get why they didn't show them in the first trailer because they were saving it for another piece of marketing. So I don't know. Look, we've all said that Nebula and Tony being in that shot could be a misdirect. It could be. But maybe because the Russo brothers have been talking about how we're putting misdirects in our trailers. What if them saying that there are misdirects is in and of itself the misdirect? What if everything in the trailers is actually in the movie, but we're just second guessing about whether any of it's in the movie because the Russo brothers have said there are misdirects here? What if that's the misdirect, right? So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, Bob Newhart is a Mrs. Maisel fan. I love that show. And says it's a great portrayal of the period. Also, that it was physically painful to see his Lincoln routine butchered in the first episode. I forgot about that. Guys, seriously, if you guys are watching all the television awards seasons and keep seeing this show, Mrs. Maisel winning everything, check out this show. This show is fabulously written, beautifully performed, incredibly funny. You got to treat yourself. Now, it's an Amazon Prime show, so you got to be an Amazon Prime member. But if you are an Amazon Prime member, oh my God, watch this show. It's really entertaining and really fun. And I think Bob Newhart's completely correct. It nails, at least to me, I wasn't alive in that era, but it feels authentic to the era. It's also the style of the comedy almost feels authentic to the era too, Ryan. You know what I'm talking about? The style and the writing is so smart and quick and crisp. And it's just a beautifully done show, man. It's really funny. Check it out if you get a chance. Take Bob Newhart's advice for it and take Ryan's advice for it. Go check that show because it's great. All right, Roman Bryant writes, it is time. Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Verse? Ooh. Obviously, incredibly different films. Incredibly different films. I'm going to go Spider-Man 2. It's a close call, and maybe on a different day I'd give a different answer, maybe. For now, I'm going to say Spider-Man 2 because it's one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. And Spider-Verse is magnificent. I'm going to lean towards Spider-Man 2. All right. Thunder Knight writes, what did you think of the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2? I'm in the minority. I prefer the theatrical cut. I do too. Honestly, I do. And I remember I had an argument with somebody once who got mad at me because I said that. But, and I don't know, maybe it's just part of it is because it's the movie I grew up with. Maybe it's because the theatrical cut is my understanding of that movie. Maybe that's part of the reason I've developed this philosophy. Like, you know, we're talking about a movie that someone says, oh, but John, did you see the director's cut? Like, to me, director's cuts are basically fan films. The movie is what got released in theaters. That's the movie. Like, even though I love the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings films, they're great, but when I think of the Lord of the Rings films, it's the theatrical release. That's the definitive version of the movie, period. That includes Batman versus Superman. That includes The Kingdom. That includes everything. The movie that got released in theaters, what I think of the movie. Director's cuts, extended editions, all these kinds of things are just a hair above fan films in the way I think about them. So I'm with you. I like the Donner cut, yeah, but to me, I still prefer the theatrical release. Anyway, J.M. Eister writes, over under 0.0001%, we see Batman die in Avengers Endgame. I'll take the over on that. I will take the over 0.0001% because who knows? Jordan's Channel writes, if you were in charge of the DCEU, what would you do with the universe right now? Reboot, have Flashpoint, change something, or all things? What you think? If I were in charge of the DCEU a year and a half ago, or shortly after Justice League came out, reboot. Absolutely, reboot. However, that wasn't the only path to victory. I think it would have been the most sense path to victory, but not the only potential path to victory. Walter Hamada chose to go in a different direction. Today, no. Look, I've said for a long time, I think the DCU should have rebooted after Justice League, but they've already started down a new path. And they're doing pretty well with this new path, wouldn't you say? Like with Aquaman being a big hit, Shazam looks like it's going to be great. Hopefully I'll find out today if it is or not. Wonder Woman 84 coming out. As long as Patty Jenkins is directing it, it's probably going to be good. So at this point, it's too late to reboot. Now is not the time to reboot. There was a time to reboot, but that time has come and gone. Now it's time to stay the course. Walter Hamada clearly had a plan. I told you guys when he came on board that this was going to spell good things for the DCEU. He's chosen to go in this direction. He clearly has a plan. He's following that plan. It seems to be working out. So now, no, I wouldn't reboot now. If I could go back in time and reboot at a certain time, I would have, but not at this point. It's too late for that. They've started down a new path, and that path is working. I wouldn't use Flashpoint to change things. I never would have used Flashpoint to change things. The point of Flashpoint is not to change things. So, no, right now, if I'm in charge of the DCU, I just say, well, Walter Hamada's got a plan and he's doing it and it seems to be working. Just keep letting Walter Hamada do what Walter Hamada's doing. And let's see how that all turns out. Cecil1304 writes, wait a second, you haven't been to Disney World. John, we need to talk. No, I've never been to Disney World. I've only been to Florida once. I've only been to the state of Florida once, and that was for Star Wars Celebration Orlando. Loved that city, by the way. I had a great time in Orlando. Had a wonderful time there. But yeah, never been to Disney World. I've been to Disneyland many times, but never to Disney World. Raymond Verrata writes, watching Shazam later at 4 p.m., what goes to the box office? Advanced screenings? What about corporate screenings? Autodesk 3D had one for Captain Marvel. Anything where people can buy a ticket to go see it goes towards the box office. Now, if your company has a special screening, I don't know if that, who cares? That's less than a drop in the bucket, so who cares? But like these advanced screenings that we're having today across the country, yeah, these go towards the box office totals, 100%. I don't think they go towards the opening weekend box office, obviously not, but they do go towards the overall box office. Anytime you can buy a ticket to go to that movie, that goes towards the box office. So yeah, all these screenings that you and I are going to today, Raymond, totally will count towards the overall box office, 100%. All right, Kyle Massiero writes, I found Us to be a tragically beautiful allegory of how hatred is manifested and shaped within all of us, not to boot a wildly entertaining movie. I liked Us quite a bit. I don't think I liked it as much as you did. I thought it was very imaginative, very different, yet oddly predictable in places. And again, to me, it didn't stick the landing, but really entertaining throughout. I liked a lot of the themes they were going for. And overall, again, it's another win. It's another win for Jordan Peele. So that's 2 in a row he's got under his belt now. All right, Roy L. writes, I never watched Game of Thrones and everyone is on my butt to watch it. Now I'm on episode 5 of, season 6. You've come quite a ways. I want Ramsay to die. He sucks big time. One of the great things that Game of Thrones has been able to do is to get people to really hate their villains. Like, if it's as if, like, how could any audience hate a villain more than the way everybody hated Joffrey? Everybody wanted that kid to die. Like, we all wanted him to die. You think that was good? Hold my beer. Here comes Ramsay. And everybody wants Ramsay to die. They've done such a great job with their villains, getting that exact emotional response, Roy, that you just so beautifully expressed. So absolutely. Paul Licari writes, Alita's run closing in on 400,000. Well, no, it's actually closing in on 400 million. It's doing a little bit better than 400,000. Closing in on 400 million, enough for a sequel. Here's the thing. Alita is not going to break even. $170 million budget, which is more expensive than Captain Marvel. And it's may hit 400. It's not enough to break even. But, and I said this before, I will say it again. I attribute a bunch of the lack of box office success for Alita to the fact that the first trailer was terrible. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And the first impression of Alita was a bad one. And people didn't like it. I didn't like the first trailer for Alita Battle Angel. I quite enjoyed the subsequent trailers, but there's a lot of people that if you lose them with the first trailer, it's hard to get them back on with better ones later. And it's also it's a property that not a lot of people are familiar with. It looks a little weird, right? Especially with the Alita character. It looks a little weird, sure. The way I have thought about it is this, is that I didn't think Alita, which I ended up enjoying, I think Alita's a good movie. I have a good time with it. Has its weaknesses, but its strengths way outweigh the weaknesses to me. So I've said for a while, I think Alita is one of these films that even if it doesn't break even, you could still do a sequel to it on the belief that the audience enjoyed this movie. It will get positive word of mouth that will give you a better result with a second film than you had with the first film. Hitting 400 million does not break even, but to me, it gets you close enough. Yeah, they're going to take a loss on it. And Disney, which by the way, Alita is now a Disney film, Disney is not usually in the business of putting out money-losing movies. But, as I've said for a while, I think this is a property where if I'm a producer, I can go into a studio executive's office and make a case that if you let us do a second one, I believe there's enough anecdotal evidence here to suggest that the second one will have even better results than this one. Maybe they tighten up the budget a little bit. Instead of maybe 170, maybe give them a $140 million budget. Maybe you do some, maybe you make sure your first trailer is better this time around. All that kind of stuff really pump the how much people enjoyed the first film. I think you can do a sequel. So with a lot of films, no, but with this one, maybe. So let's see how that turns out. Richard Karate writes, will we get a sequel to The Meg? Oh yeah, I believe they already said a long time ago they're developing it already. That movie made a ton of money, way more than that movie should have made, and it did, so they are 100% going to be making a sequel to that, no doubt. Lone Wolf X6 writes, hey John, I was wondering, so on Gotham I love when Penguin and Riddler team up. How about you? A lot like the show as a whole, the Riddler Penguin stuff is hit and miss, or has been hit and miss. Now look, I will tell you right now, I haven't watched any of this season. I have not watched any of the newest season of Gotham. I am caught up to the end of last season, but I have not watched anything on this season so far. I will at some point. But the show's so hit and miss to me, I never felt the overwhelming urge to make it a priority to sit down and watch Gotham. Sometimes it works because I really like the actors playing the roles. But on the other hand, to me, Gotham always worked best when it ignored the Batman stuff. To me, Gotham worked best when it was a gritty crime show about Detective James Gordon in this mobster crime-ridden town of Gotham. And I like the fact that we got to see Penguin as a lower-level person in this world and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't even minded his development, but the more and more they get into making Gotham a Batman light show, there's Batman, then there's Batman light. And Gotham has been, for the most part, Batman light. And when it's been Batman light, it hasn't worked for me. And sometimes the Riddler Penguin stuff has been part of that, but sometimes it's superseded that and risen above it. So it's been a little bit of hit and miss to me. Factual Opinion writes, I'm loving this new trend of readapting Stephen King books like It and Pet Sematary. Here's hoping for a new book adaptation of The Shining. Whoo! Shining's, that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be tough because Shining is Pet Sematary was not a revered movie. The first Pet Sematary. It, the miniseries, was not a revered incarnation of It. So to redo movie versions of those, it makes some sense. Shining, however, is a revered movie. It's a revered movie. And I think studios will tread a little more lightly. Now, we have a quote-unquote sequel to The Shining coming out. I think it's called Dr. Sleep with Ewan McGregor. They're making a sequel that actually, they might even be done filming that movie now. So we have a sequel coming out to it that takes place like 20 years later. But to remake Shining. That's going to take some balls. That's going to take some testicular fortitude for a studio to step up and do that one. Because, like I said, unlike Pet Sematary and unlike It, this was a revered film. Not just the book. The original film was revered. It's going to be tough. We'll have to see. Maybe they'll do it. Maybe they will, but we'll have to wait and see. All right. Lone Wolf X6 writes, also, do you like Gotham's version of Riddler so far? For the most part, I've liked their incarnation of Riddler. Although, I gotta say, I preferred him when he was still just Edward Nygma, the forensics guy at the police. I thought they should have just kept him there and maybe in the final season shown his transformation into Riddler. I kind of would have preferred it that way. But I do like the actor who's played him. I can't remember the actor's name, but I've liked his performance in it. Lee Mallinson writes, is Hulk a jobber in the MCU? Since they stopped making his solo films, he's lost to Iron Man. Oh, he didn't lose to Iron Man. Thor, and he didn't lose to Thor. Thanks, seems very depowered. I've never felt like they've shown Hulk truly at his potential. They did a little bit in the first Avengers. Now, that thing with the Iron Man thing, remember, there's a lot of asterisks besides that one. Hulk only ultimately got stopped because he got distracted. He was under the mind thing, all that kind of stuff. And the fact that Hulk himself, Bruce, designed the Hulkbuster armor himself as an attempt to slow down the Hulk. So that's kind of Hulk fighting himself in many ways. But that fight doesn't go down that way if it wasn't for the Scarlet Witch stuff in there. Without that, Hulk wins that fight. We all know that. With Thor, he didn't lose the fight to Thor. That was a fight that never got to finish. They never ended that fight. They never completed that fight. Thor got in a great shot, and for a point there, Thor had the upper hand. But that was a fight that never got to get seen through to its completion. Hulk just doesn't get beat unless you're Thanos. So, and let's face it, Hulk put up a much better fight against Thanos than Thor did. Before he got Stormbreaker, which suddenly massively overpowered him. But before he got Stormbreaker, Thor was just trashed by Thanos. Hulk at least got in there and landed some heavy leather on Thanos before Thanos turned it around, right? So, no, I don't think they've made him a jobber at all. I think they've put very extenuating circumstances. It's not like the Superman and Supergirl thing, where it's constantly Superman bowing down and licking Supergirl's boots going, you are Earth's hero, not me. You beat me, and you are Earth's champion, not me. You beat me fair and square, and oh my gosh, Supergirl, you're the best. I'm Superman, and I suck. It's nothing like that. So no, I don't think at all that as a fan of Hulk, I'm watching it, and I've never felt at all like they've jobbed Hulk. I've never felt that, the way they set it up. So that's just my thoughts on it, though. Hector Jeter writes, really digging your new podcast. Thank you so much, Hector. We appreciate that. It's a great change just listening to you guys tell stories and influences aside from just answering questions. It is really fun. And me and Robert were talking about this the other day. It was I think we just have a lot of fun, the three of us just sitting down talking movies together. It's just a really, really good time. And it's different from a lot of stuff that I've done before. And I'm having a good time with it. So thank you for that, Hector. I appreciate the compliment, man. All right. Richard Karate writes, have you seen the trailer for Bel Air? It's a serious, dramatic take on Fresh Prince's sitcom, and it works as a serious, dramatic tone movie. Yeah, that's arguable. Look, it's an interesting idea. First of all, it's not a movie. It's like a little fan-made thing. Just be clear on this. It's a little fan-made thing. And it's a little bit too on the nose, to be honest with you. What it shows me is that you could take the story of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and make a dramatic movie about it. Like a kid growing up in Philadelphia who gets in trouble with violence and whatever, to the point that his mother's so afraid for his safety, she sends him off to live with other family in a more affluent place. And the challenges that a kid coming from the streets of Philadelphia, now being transported into a very different socio-climate, would face. That type of a movie can just work like that as a drama. Where the fan film thing started to lose me was all the little references. Oh, I get it. North Philadelphia, born and raised. It's like, oh, they shouldn't have put that in there. the eight referencings of Uncle Phil, Uncle Phil, Uncle Phil. Like, it's like, oh, no, we get it now. Like, they made it a little bit too much on the nose. So as a proof of concept, it worked for me. Just, they took it a little bit too far. And again, just understand it's a fan-made thing. It isn't no studio made this. Richard Karate follows up. Have you seen the trailer for Ma with Octavia Spencer? Looks creepy. Yes, I have. We talked about it a little bit earlier. The only problem is, I'd seen it a long time ago. Anne hadn't seen the trailer yet. They played the trailer for Ma in front of us. And as soon as the trailer ended, Anne looked at me and she goes, they just showed me the whole movie. Yeah, they kind of do. I mean, look, I don't know that for sure because I haven't seen the movie. Maybe everything in the Ma trailer is in the first half of the movie and they don't show you anything from the second half. But it feels damn like they just showed you the whole movie. Like every plot turn, everything significant that happens in Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And it just felt like they showed you everything in the movie unfold. And so Anne looked at me because I think the first couple of 30 seconds of the trailer, Anne was like really into it. And then by the end of the trailer, she had no desire to see the movie because she felt like she just watched the whole movie. Whether that's true or not, whether they did just show you the whole movie or not is kind of irrelevant. They made Anne feel like she just watched the whole movie. And the trailer talked Anne out of seeing the movie because she feels like she's watched it already. So it is creepy feeling, but I think they just showed a little bit too much in that damn thing. All right. Chris Warden writes, why are some people having trouble understanding that a lot of us like Captain Marvel? I hate the Twilight and 50 Shades films, but have no problem admitting that they have plenty of other people who like them. Well, I mean, that's just, again, Chris, we're talking about people who planted a flag that before seeing this movie, we hate Captain Marvel. Before seeing it, for our own political agenda reasons, we hate this movie because the star of the film said something that doesn't jive with our political point of view. So we now hate this movie and we're going to try to make it fail and we're going to do all this kind of stuff. And they've just planted that flag. So now their worldview has to be everybody thinks the same way. And they're going to try to make it look like everybody thinks the same way. And they don't, and they lost, and whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. Like, I hate the Twilight films, although I will stand on the fact that I didn't think the final Twilight film was all that bad. I actually got a bit of a kick out of the final Twilight film. I know that's not a popular thing to say. That's fine. I didn't hate the final Twilight film. I hated all the rest of them, but anyway, and I hated the 50 Shades movies. But here's the thing. I hated the 50 Shades movies, so I did a review saying I hated this movie. I didn't make 8 videos over the next 3 weeks talking about how much the 50 Shades movies suck. It's like, okay, I watched the movie, I didn't like it, now I'm going to move on. And if somebody asks me about 50 Shades, I'll answer the question, and I'll answer it honestly. But I just never understand the hate culture. It's funny because you have these, there are a lot of channels out there that are hate-based channels. And when I say hate, I don't mean racially hate or sexual orientation hate. I just mean hate. Like, I hate that, and I hate that. And they become billed as hate channels. And there's a lot of them out there. And I can understand it to a degree because hate gets clicks. Hate gets clicks. It does. Hate gets clicks. What I found funny was, though, when I decided to peruse a couple of these channels that just really crank out hate material, like, I hate this movie, great. But then they got to put out 14 videos about why this movie sucks and why I hate this movie and everything that they can possibly think of to make a negative thing about that movie they go on. To me, it's like, okay, review the movie once and then move on. But the funny thing is, when you peruse some of these channels, and some of these channels are actually pretty big, you look around and you realize when you look at all their videos that aren't hate-based videos, that are just, hey, my thoughts on this pleasant thing, they get no views. Now, I'm painting it with an overly broad brush, and that's actually not fair. But again, it's about this human tendency that we have. That's in all of us, that once we plant a flag in something, we are very hesitant to let it go. Even if it's been proven wrong, even if it's been wrong. And we all do it. We all do it. You've done it. I've done it. We all do it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think what a lot of these Captain Marvel haters have to just do is go, okay, look, I didn't like the movie. I watched it, and a lot of them didn't. But I watched the movie, and it didn't work for me, and it didn't work for me because of reasons A, B, C, and D. And that's why I thought this movie was terrible. That's fine. That's fair to say. And then they got to let it go. But this desperate attempt that some of these outlets have to continue the thing about, no, actually, nobody went to go see it. Yeah, they did. There were empty theaters all over America. No, there weren't. Oh, Disney bought tickets. And no, they didn't. This movie has to make $750 million just to break even. No, it doesn't. I mean, it just gets sad. And at some point, you just got to let it go. Just finish up and say, I saw Captain America. I didn't like it. Here's why I didn't like it and why I don't think it works as a movie. Totally fair. Now move on. Move on to the next movie that you do like. Or now talk about the next movie that you didn't like. Whatever. But just move on. But yeah, it's not, let's not pretend, Chris, that it's just those channels or those websites or those blogs or whatever. It's not. It's a human tendency. We do it. That's what we as humans do sometimes. Because we're a flawed species. And we have these really weird, bad habits that we just gotta crack. You know? And so let's not just pretend it's them. We all do it. We all do it. So anyway, there's that. Keep that in mind. All right, Dominic Suma writes, hey, John, over under 10% Thanos dies in Endgame from Thor cutting his head off. Too violent for the MCU? Oh, come on. We've seen some very violent stuff in the MCU. I'll still take the under on that. Because you're not just saying Thanos dies because Thor kills him. You're saying Thanos dies and then in a very specific way how he does it. So I'll take the under on that. But who knows? Maybe Thanos and Thor have a confrontation, and this time he does go for the head, or specifically the neck, and beheads him. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's zero, but for now I'll take the under, but I'll keep my eye open for that. I mean, I'm not going to fall out of my chair with surprise if that happens. Ivan Katsarov writes, now I know what it means to give a spoiler. On your past Patreon podcast, you spoke of the last Flash episode, and I still haven't started that season. Anyway, this will make me start very soon. Well, I don't know. I think it's different with TV shows, Ivan, to be honest with you, because, look, even who I got the death of a very prominent member of Sons of Anarchy spoiled for me before I had a chance to see the show. And that was horrible for me. But the reality is, it's different from week to week TV shows than it is for movies. Because I think it's pretty much fair game. Once a show airs, be sensitive if you're in a different time zone and give it a couple of hours. But once a show's had aired like the day before, it's pretty understood that it's fair game for people to talk about it. It's aired, it's out, most people have seen it. And if you follow a show really closely and you miss one episode, it's kind of the onus is on you then to avoid, and the onus is on me as well, to avoid social media until I have a chance to see it. Like, there's a big UFC card tonight, right? We got Wonder Boy versus Showtime Anthony Pettis. I'm not going to be able to watch that live. I've got my screening, and then I've got a couple of other things I need to do. So I'm going to get around to watching this fight card a little bit later tonight after it's done. The onus is on me as a viewer to avoid social media and stuff like that until I have a chance to watch it. If I don't want to know how these fights end, stay off my social media. Don't look at Instagram, all that kind of stuff until I see it. So it's a little bit different. I propose it's a little bit different with television. Because television, it's episodic, it's week to week, people need to talk about it, and there's that. So I don't know if I would count that as a spoiler. See, it's a spoiler if I see an advanced copy of an episode of Flash or something else and then tell everybody what happens in it. That's a spoiler. But if the show's already aired and it's been on for a couple of days already, people got to be allowed to talk about it. But I guess at the same time, I see where you're also saying, Ivan, because to me, I got spoiled for that Sons of Anarchy episode, even though I don't blame anybody else for talking about it. You did get spoiled for something that happens in The Flash because we were talking about it. I don't think it was our fault, but you did get spoiled, and maybe the end result is both the same. So yeah, I can relate with what you're saying, man. I can relate with what you're saying. But anyway, thank you for listening to the Patreon Supporter Podcast, man. I appreciate that. It's called Best of the Week. It's a podcast I do every week, specifically and exclusively for our Patreon supporters. And by the way, Ivan, that means you're a Patreon supporter, so thank you, sir, for being a Patreon supporter. All right. Oh gosh, I only got like 10 minutes left. Okay. Brett Brooks writes, Jim impersonating Dwight is so funny. Started season 4. Bears beat Battlestar Galactica. Well, that's debatable. But wait a minute. That is one of the greatest moments, and I'd put it in my top 10 greatest moments of The Office ever is the Dwight impersonation that Jim does. Bears beat beats, or beats beat bears, or whatever. Anyway, it's hilarious. It's fantastic. I'm glad you're getting caught up on it, Brett. Storm Chaser 78. I lost Storm Chaser 78. Where did he go? Oh boy. Storm Chaser 78 writes, hello, John. Do you think Lucifer will be released in 2019? Yes, I do. And will they ramp up the adult content due to it not being on TV? As a matter of fact, I've said that for a long time, Storm Chaser, that I want them to go a little bit more adult. Because Lucifer, for being on Fox, had a lot of innuendo. Like, there wasn't a single episode that didn't have threesome or orgy or whatever, like tons of innuendo jokes and suggestive things about things that he just did and blah, blah, blah. But they never got into content. I mean, especially the one infamous thing in the yoga instructor episode with the whole, you know the scene I'm talking about, which is one of the funniest things I've ever seen on television. I cannot believe they got away with that on TV. Anyway, one of the cast members actually just revealed that she does, like the girl from Dexter who plays the CSI agent, the CSI person in Lucifer. I can't remember the actress's name. She's adorable though. I love her. She just revealed that she does a bare ass shot this season, and that Tom Ellis, the guy who plays Lucifer, he does one too, at least one. So if nothing else, that tells us they are ramping up some of the more, but since it's going to be on Netflix now, you can put in some more mature content. And here's the thing with a show like Lucifer, it's not forcing it, because they've had a lot of very suggestive content that you could have very easily made it fit to have some more adult content in there, and it doesn't feel forced. It would feel natural to a show like this. And I've always felt like they should probably do that, and it sounds like they are. And I do believe it'll come out. I believe it's going to be one of those things where they're going to announce the launch of the new season, like 2 weeks before the season comes out. They've done that with a few other shows. I think they're going to do it with Lucifer. I'm going to guess within the next, what is it, March? I'm going to guess it's going to air before June. No insider information. That's just a guess on my part. Okay. Ivan Katzaroff writes, I also think the only way Disney will get the rights for Hull movie, I think you probably meant Hulk, is going to be the same way as Batman saved the Kent house in Justice League. How did you convince the bank? I bought the bank. Well, yeah, here's the problem with that though, Ivan. Disney can't afford Universal at this point. Disney cannot afford Universal. Comcast, which owns Universal, is a massive company. And Disney just spent basically all the spare money they had. Disney just spent $71 billion. $71 billion they just spent. They ain't got the money to buy Universal. Now, for a lot of people who don't understand the situation, I'm going to oversimplify it, but this gives you a basic idea. Disney has the right to make a Hulk movie. If Marvel wanted to make a Hulk movie, they can. The only thing is they can't distribute it. Universal has the rights for distribution. So Marvel can very easily make a deal with Universal. Well, Marvel says, hey, we're going to make a Hulk film and you be the distributor. And Universal go, great, we'll distribute it. The problem is Disney doesn't want somebody else distributing their movies. And I understand that. But Universal has this gold card in their pocket saying, we've got the Hulk's distribution rights. Why are they going to give that up? So the only way this is going to break down is if Disney finally agrees to make a Hulk movie and allow Universal to distribute it, or make Universal an offer they simply can't refuse to get those rights back. But Universal hasn't seen the need to do that so far, so we're just going to have to wait and see. But Disney cannot buy Universal. That much we know for sure. Hector Jeter writes, over under 10% that Kurt Russell does his death-proof stuntman Mike cameo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ooh, 10%? I'll take that action. Yeah, 10%, that's low. I'm not saying he will, but if you're going to set the line at 10%, I'm going to say there's a greater than 10% chance. Absolutely. I will take the over on that, Hector. I'll take the over, and I'll take it comfortably. All right. Ben Rayner writes, do you think Lost was the first show that binging made it better after it aired? Can't imagine watching. You probably mean can't imagine watching weekly. And then you like the question so much you put it in twice, Ben. I'm trying to remember what came first. Did Lost come first or did 24 come first? Let me just look this up. Hold on a second. 24. So 24 debuted in 2001, it looks like. I believe it debuted in 2001. Let me find out for sure. Well, it's saying 2001, so I'm going to believe it debuted in 2001. Yeah, it went from 2001 to 2010. Okay, so Lost debuted in 2004. Look, there may be others before that, but I know the first show that I really binged. It was right after I moved to LA, and I was sick one weekend. And this might have been the last time I went to a Blockbuster video. I was a little bit sick, so I dragged myself out of the house, walked up the street on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, walked up the street, and they had you can get all the discs for 24 season 1. I remember hearing, a lot of people like this show. I should watch it. And I was very late to the party. And I watched 24, all 24 episodes in 2 days. I just binged the whole thing. And that was very bingeable because it's supposed to be one sequential hour after the next, right? So I'm going to say, and there were probably others before 24, Ben, so I'm going to say that, Lost wasn't the first one. Lost wasn't the first one. It's certainly one of the films, but it's not the first one. Andrew Naranjo writes, biggest audience reaction would be if Stan Lee is the one to kill Thanos, greatest cameo ever. I'm going to say no. It would be a great thing, but it doesn't fit with the movies. So I would say no, that would probably not be a great thing to do. It'd probably be a pretty bad thing. By the way, I can't remember who gave me the fan theory, but one fan theory that came in on the show was the notion that Stan Lee's cameo is him officiating Tony and Pepper's wedding at the end of Endgame. I think that's a great theory. Cry time, everybody. Everybody's going to be cry time. Because first of all, it's the wedding of Tony and Pepper, and then Stan Lee is the one doing the officiating of it. Oh my God. There's many, many different ways they can make great Stan Lee cameos, but having Stan Lee be the one officiating Tony and Pepper's wedding would be huge. Alt Productions writes, movie isn't the best, but love Robert Downey Jr. in The Judge. I like that movie, but yeah, it wasn't great. Robert Downey Jr. was good in that movie. Robert Duvall was crazy good in that movie. And you know what? I could be wrong, but I think Robert Duvall got an Academy Award nomination for that movie. Let me just double check that. And yes, Robert Duvall was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for The Judge. He was crazy good in that. It was a decent little movie, but it proved... And I'll tell you what, that is the movie that made Robert Downey Jr. run back to the MCU, because that movie kind of flopped. And it's like, oh, just because my name's Robert Downey Jr. doesn't automatically mean my movies will be blockbusters if it's not in the MCU? Okay, back to the MCU I go, which was a good call. But I liked The Judge. I did. I liked that movie, but Robert Duvall was crazy good in that. Just nutty good. Let's see where we're at. Apex Caliber writes, did you read Zach Levi's defense of Brie Larson? I did not read it, but I saw his video. I actually talked about the video he put out on my thing. Now, if there is a separate thing that he wrote Apex, I'm not aware of that. So if that is it, can you do me a favor, Apex? I would appreciate it. Can you email me, John at thejohncampeashow.com. So just email to me and just put like Zach's post or something in the subject line and just let me see it. Because if you have a link to that, I would love to see it. Unless you're talking about the video, in which case I have seen that, but I haven't read it. And I'd be curious to read that just because I love Zach Levi so much. Thanks for sharing that, Apex. All right. Slow D writes, one of two. John, in in Jamaica, we only have one theater chain, and because it's predominantly Christian country, movies have homosexual content are hardly released. Really? Hold on a second to see where your number 2 one is. 202. Moonlight never released. Well, yeah, but Moonlight was not a big wide release film, so I wouldn't read too much into that. Anyway, Bohemian Rhapsody was released for a week, and Brokeback Mountain, when released, caused public backlash. I wish they would relax and just let us enjoy art. Well, it's funny. It really does bring up the whole what is censorship thing, right? What is censorship? And it's a very fine line. For instance, I remember I had this debate a few years ago. There was a particular movie Walmart wouldn't carry. And I remember people saying, this is censorship. And I remember thinking, well, wait a minute. Does one store exercising their right to carry or not carry whatever they want to carry and not carry, is that a censorship on what you are permitted to watch? No. See, to me, and I will admit here, my philosophy on this is an evolving one. So how I feel about it right now may not be how I feel about it 2 years from now. But for what it's worth, this is just kind of where my head is right now. Censorship is when you are not allowed to watch something you want to watch. That's censorship, right? I am preventing you. I will not allow you to have the ability to watch something that you want to watch. That's censorship. My argument at the time with the Walmart situation was Walmart saying, look, for us, we make the decision that we don't want to carry this content. That is not prohibiting you from finding a different way to acquire this content and to watch it. You can still do that. They are not censoring your ability or your right to watch and see it. That is simply them as a company exercising their own discretion about what they feel comfortable that they will carry or will not carry. But I don't count that as censorship. Censorship is when the government says, we don't allow boobies in movies. Okay, that's censorship. We don't allow this in movies. That's censorship. I don't think the MPA rating system is censorship because, hey, as long as it's still available that you can find a way to watch it, then it's not censorship. It might make it harder to watch or whatever. There's that. I am not familiar, Slow, with the theatrical chains in Jamaica, clearly. And I know you did not use the word censorship. I know this is what you're pointing out. But if a movie theater chain has its own particular set of values, and to them there are things they feel comfortable showing in their business, and things they're not comfortable showing in their business, that's their business. That may inconvenience you. Yeah, that might be a pain in the ass, and it may inconvenience you from being able to watch the stuff you want to watch now, and may put you in a position that it means, hell, now I got to wait. I'm not going to be able to watch Moonlight, which granted was a smaller release film, so it's not a great example right here. But now it has to mean I'm going to have to wait to watch Moonlight until it's available on other avenues. Or Bohemian Rhapsody, I couldn't make it out to see it in theater the 1 week that it played. I may have to wait, but you are ultimately going to be able to watch it in a different way. It's an interesting conundrum. And especially because the word censorship is such a hot word, right? It's such a hot word. What is censorship? What is not censorship? All that kind of stuff. It's something that is really worth discussing. So I find that intriguing. Like, I know nothing about, social life in Jamaica. So just hearing that I find really fascinating. So anyway, fascinating stuff, Slow. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that very much. All right. Just a couple more, guys, and then I got to wrap it up today because I'm going to have some people waiting for me to go see Shazam. Anyway, am I a little bit excited? Maybe. Baby Boy 8603 writes, if Disney Plus streaming service offers their entire catalog of movies, what will be the point to buy any Disney movie digitally or Blu-ray? That's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll, like, let's say Endgame. I don't know this, by the way. Let's say Disney Plus was already available and Endgame comes out. Maybe they say Endgame will get added to Disney Plus in a year. In the meantime, you can buy it digitally for $15 or whatever, right? And then in a year we add it. Or maybe they just add it right away. Here's the thing, though. It is their benefit. Because they're seeing this whole cash generator of having people signed on for $10 a month. Every month, that's $10 a month. Boom, 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 boom. You add 100 million of those people, you're making $1 billion a month. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's a good model. It's a good model. The physical media model has been dying. Digital's been increasing, but they would probably be willing to sacrifice, I'm guessing. This is actually really a good topic for a wider discussion, Baby Boy, but I'm guessing Disney might be willing to sacrifice some of that digital purchase money for ongoing, continuous cash flow money that you get from a subscription to their streaming service. And if you can keep giving your audience a good flow of new content, it's a win-win. But again, bigger discussion for a bigger time, but it is an interesting topic. All right. James Bonner writes, and James, thank you. That's a really generous super chat, man. Thank you for sending that in, and thank you for supporting the channel, man. I appreciate that. And as I do for all the stuff you send in, James, you're a regular commenter here. James writes, John, thank you for introducing me over the last number of years to the idea of the subjectivity of film. How much shorter would conversations be, and how much more boring if we all had agreed on with each other on what we liked? Oh, I agree. And to me, I know you guys hear me talk ad nauseum about it, and I'm sure a lot of you get bored when you hear me bring it up. I get it. But to me, the subjectivity of film is the most important concept and thing to understand when talking about movies. Because to me, somebody who just doesn't understand the subjectivity of film, to me, I'm just like, okay, then you just don't understand movies. You don't get art. If you don't understand that first underlying governing principle that art is subjective, there is no objective truth when it comes to art. Other than that is black, that is blue, that is 5 feet tall, that is 83 minutes long. That's the extent of objective truth. And if you don't have that fundamental understanding of film, then you can't have rational film discussion and debate. Because if you have two people who understand that film is subjective, you can have great fun movie debates that never have to devolve into insults and name calling, because we all understand that film is art and art hits us in different ways. Show me a conversation between film fans where it devolves into name calling and insulting, and I'll probably show you one of the two of them doesn't get that film is subjective. Well, you just like that because you're dumb. Oh, God. Right? And I understand that I probably talk about it ad nauseum, and I understand I probably talk about it to the point that people get bored of it. I get that. But because to me it is such a fundamentally important thing to understanding film fandom and being a film fan, to me it's worth talking about a lot. So I'm really happy, James, that you've kind of latched onto that, and I thank you for sharing that thought with me. And thank you very much, James, because to me it's the most important thing about being a film fan, and it's the best thing about being a film fan. The subjectivity of film is the best thing about movies. But anyway, that's just me. All right, guys. Final topic today that we're going to take comes to us from Richard Karate, who writes, my dream Batman casting, Matt Damon as Batman, Emmy Rossum as Catwoman. Oh, she would be pretty good at Catwoman, actually. Kellen Lutz as Bane, David Tennant as Riddler, Scott Adkins as Deathstroke, Bryan Cranston as Commissioner Gordon. some pretty good things. You know my thoughts on things, Richards. Just, I don't care, X actor and X role. But I will say, if they announced a movie tomorrow, a new Batman movie tomorrow, starring Matt Damon as Batman, not bad. Amy Rossum as Catwoman, I'm down for that. Kellen Lutz as Bane, I like Kellen Lutz. David Tennant as Riddler, I'm down for that. Scott Adkins as Deathstroke, I'm down for that. Bryan Cranston as Commissioner Gordon, I'm down for that. I'd be down for that movie, Richard. You could sign me up. Sign me up for like that. I'll be on that movie in a heartbeat. So yeah, I'm down. I like it. I don't care which one. Just give me just give me good movies and give me good actors plugged into the roles. But those are all great actors. I'd sign off on that. If I'm a studio producer, you bring me that list, I'll sign off on it in a second, Richard. All right, Richard has one more quick follow-up there, or two little quick follow-up. We'll do these two from Richard, and then we'll wrap it up here. Richard writes, thoughts on the Riddick movies? Honestly, not a big fan. Not even the first one. I like Pitch Black, right? A lot of my friends love Pitch Black. I am a huge Vin Diesel fan. I really like Vin Diesel, but I will admit I'm not a big fan of the Pitch Black movies. I'm kind of glad he's moved on from them, but I've never been big on them, to be honest. But a lot of my friends do. Richard's final question, best Brad Pitt performance. My favorite is Achilles. It's hard not to go 12 Monkeys. It's smaller. I mean, Brad Pitt always brings it. He's also really great in this little movie that not a lot of people watch called Burn After Reading that he did. He's really good in that. 12 Monkey. I mean, he always brings it. But Achilles was good. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say 12 Monkeys. All right, guys, listen. From Oz, Ryan Lohner, Mr. Hero 17, and all the way down, all those you guys who have sent in Super Chat questions, do not fret, do not worry. Your questions are going to get answered in a video. I'm going to gather up these unused ones, and I'm going to do a companion video this weekend to make sure I get to the rest of these questions. Your questions that you so generously sent in are going to get answered in a video. I just got to get ready for some Shazam time, so I got to cut today's show short. We've gone 2 hours and 10 minutes. Short. Anyway, we got to cut today's show a little bit short. Until that, don't forget, guys, not only do I have a companion video coming for that stuff, but we're also going to be having another open mic tomorrow. Make sure you come back and join me for that. And of course, later tonight, I'm going to be doing a Shazam review. Keep your eyes open for that as well. Guys, thank you so much for being here and being a part of this film fan community with me and with everybody else. It's always great to have you guys around. Cannot wait to talk more movies with you. So until next time, my name's John Campea, and until then, bye-bye.